So then in the history, again, like I said, if you're going to ask two main questions about somebody, you want to know, okay, how did it happen? Was it acute or was it repetitive? And then does the pain radiate or is it in one location? So if it's a mechanism of injury, if they said, well, you know, I was in this sword fight, I was swinging from this bar, and all of a sudden my shoulder popped out, right? So, okay, that's an acute traumatic injury. You have shoulder dislocation. Or they're saying, you know, over years and years, my shoulder's kind of been bothering me. I used to throw a lot of baseball or play tennis. And then all of a sudden I was picking something up and I just felt this pop in my shoulder, okay? So that's an acute aggravation of a chronic condition. Or you can just say that, you know, my shoulder's always been hurt. It's gradually gotten worse and it gets stiff and I can't put my arm overhead. So all those things in the history, I mean, the history is the same on any kind of condition, that you always want to ask the same question so that you cover everything, but each particular area has its own unique things that you want to talk about as far as shoulder. Well, you know, did something happen while it was like this or like that? Okay. And then, if you're right-handed or left-handed, right? So all of a sudden the person says, well, I'm not really left-handed. So then we start to zero in on things. Remember, like I said before, you start out like you're shooting at a bullseye, right? Okay, now we've taken in the first layer. We did the history, so we kind of have an idea of what's going on. Now we're going to narrow it down by doing the observation. We're going to look for certain things. Okay, so what does that indicate? Is it dislocation or what's another word? Separation, yeah. Usually that can indicate if it's the clavicle popped up, that could be a shoulder separation. Or if you've seen flattening of the deltoid right there, then that could be dislocation. So basically you want to observe and look at these different things. So like here as well. And then you can look at atrophy of the muscles. If somebody's not using, if it's a chronic shoulder problem and they're not using their muscles, then there could be atrophy. Usually, there's going to be, if you're looking at posturally, the dominant side usually is going to be shoulder lower. If somebody's right-handed, most of the time their right shoulder is going to be a little bit lower.
Why is that?
Get the exact reason right now, but it has to do with you know, they're using that side more. Maybe the muscles are tighter, they're pulling it down a little bit more. I think there's an explanation in the book. I can look that up and give you a better answer later. Okay, now this is a difference between the step deformity right here, where see how does that deltoid look? Not too bad. It's mostly just right there. And here. Which there, you're losing the roundness of the deltoid. It's not so much that it's popped up right here, it's that the hole is down below. Okay? And that's more of what's called the sulcus sign. That's going to indicate shoulder dislocation.
So it's just loss of roundness, the sulcus sign?
Yeah, I mean, this should come like that, right? If you look at this side here, here all of a sudden it drops down below, versus the step deformity, which is the AC separation, is more up on the top part. Here we're looking at the discrepancy down on the lower part of the shoulder. And then, like when we talked about in the thoracic spine, you can have the scapula, either some winging going on or undescended scapula. And then again, if you're talking about scapulohumeral rhythm, as you watch the patient, and typically you're going to look from behind and you watch as the scapula moves with the movement of the shoulder, or the glenohumeral joint. Again, if someone, let's say they have impingement going on, they don't want to bring that up and compromise that subacromial space, so they're going to raise their shoulder like this. They're going to flex the thoracic spine and get it, do everything they can without doing that extra bit that's going to compromise this space under here.
I'm sorry, the scapulohumeral, what are you looking for, what? You're saying here?
You're looking for a rhythm between every two, you have twice as much motion, like 2/3 of the motion occur from the glenohumeral and 1/3 occurs from the scapula. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So every 2 degrees that happens at the glenohumeral joint, you're going to have 1 degree that happens at the scapula. So it's like this. So the question is about scapulohumeral rhythm. It's a ratio of, there's twice as much motion here as there is here. So 2/3 of that motion happened here, and 1/3 of that motion happened here. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. And like I was saying before, so somebody, they've got some inflammation up here in the subacromial space, they bring their arm up, doesn't want to go any farther, then they're going to do this. When that maxes out, then they're going to allow to reflex their spine. Try to get their shoulder up, they're going to go like this. So you're looking, when you're looking at range of motion, you're looking for the quality of the motion. Or you may find also that they're going to have a painful arc, where they'll come up like this and they're like, you get to where, from like right in here and here, is where they have pain. So this, not so bad, not so bad. Oh, that hurts. Okay, now I'm past it. Now you're okay up here and down there, but right there it's painful.
What would that do?
It's because like you can have some impingement there, where all of a sudden right there you get to the point where that's impinged, and then now I've moved past it, and now it's kind of opened up a little bit more as it's slid farther down. So this is going to be a repeat of some of the stuff that we already talked about. All those things, deformities. Now here's kind of a screening test of range of motion. If you want to differentiate between, if somebody's having pain in the neck and it's going down into the shoulder, into the arm, you want to find out, is it coming from the neck, is it coming from the shoulder? Okay? If they can do full shoulder range of motion without any pain, it's probably related to the neck. Okay, so are you going to always do everything, all the exact measurements of the planes of range of motion? Not necessarily. So you can just do one thing here where we talk about Apley's scratch test. Okay? Now, different things you can do is, one is you're going to come over and touch the opposite shoulder, or you can touch the same shoulder here, or you can try to come and touch the fingers together like that. Okay? So what kind of rotation am I doing here? Internal rotation, what kind am I doing here? Okay. So I'm doing, I'm not really doing, yeah, okay, to come up like this, I'm doing flexion. Now I'm doing, okay, internal. I'm doing internal rotation and flexion all the way like that. And now I'm doing extension and rotation here. So that's kind of a quick screening thing. If you can do that, you don't have any shoulder pain. You may or may not go through and do all the actual measured ranges of motion.
Is the test still valid if people don't have the full range?
It's more so if you can, if it's uniform from one side to the other, and is it symptomatic? And are those symptoms the same that they have when they feel their shoulder pain? Okay? They say, well, you know, it's kind of stiff. Is that the same pain that you feel when it bothers you? No, it's kind of different. It's a little more over here. So, you know, it's just one more piece in the puzzle of, you know, narrowing in on that target that you're shooting at. So here's the normal ranges here. Okay, now we're starting to talk about when we're doing range of motion. How many shoulders do you have? 2. Are you going to compare one side to the other? Yes. Which one do you start with first? Well, if they're symptomatic, you start with the asymptomatic side first and then go with the symptomatic. Okay. And then again, these particular things here, here's what we're talking about with the painful arc right there. Okay. So this is going to indicate more here that it's glenohumeral problem here. And if you don't have pain until you get all the way up into here, then you may be talking about the acromioclavicular joint.